Hello there, you are listening to The Screen Queen, where you'll be finding your favorite movie or your favorite television show and learning something new. You'll just have to listen to find out. Here is your host, Samantha Parrish. Hello there and welcome back to the show. It is good to be back, guys. As always, I am your host, but no longer on the East Coast. I made the update a while ago that I am in the transition of moving and I'm going out to get a better opportunity, get some more traction, to find my audience out there, and I'm really excited, but I also couldn't wait to get back in the show. My original plan was to go back through my usual lotto system and appear back with a brand new segment of my choosing, but I thought, let's open up the year by talking about what's going in the year. I don't normally get to cover a whole lot of new stuff coming out unless it's trailer time, but there has been some interesting titles coming up. So I thought, let me hop into the little makeshift recording studio in my mother's camper and talk about the upcoming movies and TV shows of 2026. Now, I'm not covering everything because not everything is going to be covered. There's so much stuff coming out, and also there's going to be a lot of things that might be going into pre-production because there's been a lot of things that I looked into beforehand to wonder if I could cover it, and the dice rolls how the dice rolls, as I like to say. So I found a couple of titles to share, and I want to see if other people were thinking the same thing I thought. So I'm looking forward to this. So first up on my list was actually the whole reason why this came together. The Cat in the Hat. So, I'm not exactly the biggest Dr. Seuss fan aside from having an undying love for the Grinch, but Cat in the Hat hasn't exactly had the best depiction or just presentation in general. Like, it either goes absolutely nightmare fuel insane like the Mike Myers version, or the TV series that is just mostly where the Cat in the Hat has lived. So film adaptations have been very finicky. And also, too, as an additive bonus, Audrey Geisel has a very strict policy, even after death, that there be no more live-action depictions of her late husband's work. But Audrey didn't exactly say there would be no more animations, which is kind of why we still have those PBS series lying around, R.I.P. PBS, but Illumination is trying their hand again at the Cat in the Hat, and I'm like, oh god, did we not learn from the Grinch? Did we not learn that we don't need to take Dr. Seuss and give it a minion filter? Ugh. I know Illumination has some good movies, but that's the key word here, is some. There are just some things that gets overdone with the saturation of like the world building, that it's something to look at, but then you get a plot and it's not as strong as its world building that they create. And that's always been kind of the downside. It's fun to look at, but then you actually have to see what's within the things that's fun to look at. And the Cat in the Hat is such an amalgamation of different crazy things that can be very fun, but fun can look dysfunctional very fast. But I do have one hope for this movie, and that's who they got to play the Cat in the Hat. Bill Hader has been chosen for the Cat in the Hat. And I thought, if you have to do a Cat in the Hat, that is one of the people that I would think could do the job and wear the hat right on the cat. And he has such a fun presence with his voice. I mean, I've never not known a Bill Hader performance I didn't like, all the way from Tropic Thunder to It Chapter 2 is my favorite part of the whole movie. So knowing he's going to be doing an iconic character, I think he's going to give exactly what needs to be done. If they don't take away from how fun of an idea this could be, I think it could work. They have all the elements there that can easily make this a fun film. God, I hope it is. Really, really hope it is. So the next one on my list I have been dying to talk about since I first saw the trailer drop, because I did not know where this movie was going to go. This one is called Apex. Now, I think a lot of people have probably been seeing this come around on IMDb, and there has been some trailers slowly showing, but this one threw me for a loop. I thought 100% this was going to be a remake of The River Wild when it opened up with Charlize Theron going down the thing. And every time I see a woman in a dangerous river, like, my mind immediately goes Meryl Streep escaping Kevin Bacon in The River Wild. But it wasn't. And then I see Eggsy from The Kingsman, and I was like, no. And then the pieces are put together quite quickly that this is basically a cat and mouse game. But looking into the plot, because the trailer doesn't exactly give you details, but like the good reason why they don't tell you all this stuff, because these characters are adrenaline junkies. Charlize Theron plays a woman that's an adrenaline junkie, and, well, obviously, Taron Egerton is playing someone who likes to chase people that are adrenaline junkies. Sort of like another version of the most dangerous game ever played is what, came to my mind. Thinking of, hunting another person for sport. But we've had other stories that have come out with this concept. But this one feels a little bit more fresh for, like, the thriller action genre. And having two people that are established in the action genre. I followed a lot of Charlize Theron's action movies. And, I love the Kingsman series. I went on a gush about that in an episode. Putting these two people together, oh, it's gonna be fun. If the plot doesn't hold up, I don't care. As long as the action does for me, that's all I care about. That's where the man in my name comes through, as I like to say, because I love me an action movie. And if you don't do your plot right, I don't care. As long as you do the action right and give me something that I feel is the most impossible thing to see that someone can do, that's not Tom Cruise doing his whole shit, please and thank you. Absolutely. So another one in the horror department is one that my friend Moira showed me last year called Send Help. And I've seen a little bit of advertisement for this, but it's kind of solely lived under the radar. This is from Sam Raimi. And I'm like, well, enough said right there. You give me the person that brought together the Deadites and he's making another horror film, like, you automatically have my money. But this was not what I was expecting, like, in a good way. The trailer depicts Rachel McAdams as a lowly, dowdy assistant, very much like Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman in Batman Returns, like, oh, well, just wait till you see the bitch switch. Oh boy. Now, she and what would be her former boss, are marooned on an island, basically reenacting Castaway. Except they're not Tom Hanks and Wilson. It is much like Apex, as I mentioned previously before, that it's going to be the most dangerous game ever played. But Rachel McAdams is not the girl that is in danger. She is the danger. And looking at Rachel McAdams, like, as much as I wasn't the biggest fan of her for a lot of her movies, no hate on her, but she's not exactly someone that, like, I really vouch to see. But seeing her in a different shift, I'm looking forward to it. I want to see the absolute cray-cray that she is going to pull. And there are some actors and actresses out there that when they get the opportunity to just play an unhinged character and have fun with it, especially in a premise like this where you're not exactly going to be having a central good character, it's everyone for themselves. There's only going to be one person left in this fucking island, and I goddamn hope it's going to be Rachel McAdams. But see that it's Sam Raimi. I also am looking forward to see what different horror elements he's going to do in the survival realm. Because he's done supernatural horror, of course that's going to be, great till the end of time. But having a very psychologically unhinged part of humanity where there's no rules, no laws, nothing's going to stop you from killing someone on this island. And that exploration of what people think about if it happened to them, well, you get to see what that looks like. Whew, and I'm looking forward to what it is really going to unfold to be. And another one in the horror department is a film that everyone is hoping is going to be as good as its predecessor that came out for a 28-year remembrance, The Bone Temple. Now, I have to admit, I didn't really get into the 28 days, weeks series when I was younger, and I didn't appreciate it until I was much older. So I got to see 28 years later in theaters, and oh my god, that was an experience I'm really glad I saw in theaters. And it teased with having a second movie. But they already teased that shit before the first one was even fully out yet, because it was just that anticipated with the world building that has been going into what happened years into the rage virus never leaving and people having to adapt to a new life where you don't know if you're going to die today. And having this be like a different survival horror or monster horror than things we've had with things on TV like The Walking Dead, but because this is fucking Danny Boyle bringing, you know, what is the freshest zombie virus that is never going to leave a nerve not untouched with the amount of, you know, unhingedness that goes into this whole world of these, you know, very horrifying beings that used to be human once upon a time, but having a continuation of this new world and these new characters involved with it. You know, more specifically, you know, Ralph Fiennes, who is, you know, no stranger to the horror genre, but man, the way that this is just kind of torching off to the next one and getting to see what more of this world is going to look like through him. Spike is inducted into the gang and it's like, oh no, this poor kid, and now Ralph Fiennes is going to have to go after him. But the more we get involved with this new world, it's like, you know, there's no going back. You can't just head out of here now. You're in deep, you're going in to see how bad this world is going to get. And this is just the survivors. The thing I love about horror is you can have a world of monsters that aren't exactly supernatural, and the ones that are human, you know, just as dangerous as your real ones when there's no sense of morality. And that was established in the last movie. Morality is not exactly something that helps you survive. Even our quote-unquote hero, Aaron Taylor Johnson, who was, you know, like the one kind of navigating you through a lot of stuff before you transitioned to Spike, his character wasn't exactly all pristine and honest in many ways, but he was still one of your survivors and, you know, leaders to such. And now you have Spike, who kind of have to wonder what his decisions are gonna be like. Try to save his mom, and, well, that didn't exactly end well. It's the other character that people have been fucking frothing over. I even heard a lot of my friends talk about how they've been looking after this one character, Sir Jimmy Crystal, who was the very end of it, like, chaotic to the walls, this Scottish guy that, you know, fucking obliterates the rage virus, you know, infected people. And, you know, but apparently Jack O'Connell has been in so many different horror things that people are like, this roster's growing and we can't just see what he does for this one. And I didn't really know about this guy until the movie, so I'm really excited to see if this pedestal that he's been placed on to a bunch of horror movies is going to uphold like his other ones. He might be the newest name to look after in horror films, and 28 years later, and its, you know, assistant film, The Bone Temple, is really pivoting people into the horror department. So I have one last horror movie to talk about, and this one has technically already come out, but I thought I'd throw it up here anyway because it's not going to be out until January 9th, and that is Primate. Primate is one of those films I feel like you can predict, but its angle looked intriguingly alarming enough, but I also have some discomforts about it. I never liked the idea of, you know, an animal being your primary threat, because one, an animal will do what it can to survive, and it feels like it goes along with the reigns of, like, Cujo, where, well, it wasn't the animal's fault that they were infected and they had to react the way that they had to react. And just anytime you put an animal in the place of a monster, it's just, I feel like it's a disadvantage and it's an unnecessary, you know, probing on it. I will give it this much. It does look like it doesn't appear like you don't really know what the threat is. I wasn't quite sure until it's a primate and it's like, oh, it's a monkey going after everybody. But oh my god, why do you have to make it be an animal? Ugh. Just, you know, leave the animals alone, please. Ugh. I might see what this looks like when it hits Netflix, but I don't think I'm gonna go make a ploy to go see it in theaters. I'm I'm not the biggest fan of monkeys, but I'm also not the biggest fan of, you know, primates and their families being absolutely being shown as the villain or the monster. It's an uncomfortable thing, you know. Anyway, but, you know, qualms for what it is. At least it's an idea and they tried to go with it. But, you know, time will tell, because I see those ratings already before it's even out, and their ratings are going down. It's not exactly a thrilling idea, but at least they tried. So the last on my list, man, I can't believe they did this, The Odyssey. Oh man, when I saw that title, I felt like I went right back to, 9th grade English and trying to figure out how to read The Odyssey and understand it, and, yeah, I still don't. I suffered so much trying to read The Odyssey. I struggle puffed through all of my tests and trying to stay aligned. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou was the closest that I'd ever come to understanding The Odyssey, and I feel like that's probably because it's made for those that really like it. You know, kudos to them. They can have it all. They can understand all the details. And of course, no other than fucking Christopher Nolan would be the one to bring it to life. When I saw his name pop, I'm like, okay, now it makes sense why it's here. It was bound to happen eventually. I mean, at this point, Christopher Nolan's going to be doing a movie about a demon possession and use real demons. It wouldn't surprise me if he finds a way to use real curses in here to make this movie work. Ugh. Oh my lord. But I was shocked to see who they got for the role of Odysseus. They got Matt Damon, Tom Holland, Anne Hathaway, Robert losing his mind in a lighthouse, Pattinson, Lupita Nyong'o, who I love with all of my heart and soul, Zendaya, and I was like, let me just shut the fuck up if they got Zendaya in there. And a name that I mentioned earlier, Charlize the Goddess Theron. I saw that cast list and I was like, man, now I really wish I liked The Odyssey when I was a kid. Because like I said, this is probably going to be for those that really love it, and I'm sure Christopher Nolan made it for those that love it as much as he did, but I gotta say, the way that they created just the poster of it looking like a spine, no, that just takes a cake right there. That is such a genius way to get across a very difficult story that is going to be for those that really want to see this. And if you had to be the biggest fan of The Odyssey and you wanted to see what this is going to represent, I'd be pretty damn happy if that was going to be my representation for one of my favorite stories. But again, it's not for me, but I like what it's going to be doing for other people, and they can have so much fun with it, and I am sure it's going to be a cluster of, you know, shots coming through and whatnot. We were going to be getting a lot of adaptations of, like, classic novels. I had a great time with Frankenstein last year, and I'm probably not going to have a great time with The Odyssey this year, but other people are going to do it for me, and that's what matters. Okay, we are officially done with my movie pick list to talk about, and we're moving on to TV shows now. So my first pick is a Ryan Murphy series that I am really interested to see, called The Beauty. I like to think I have a healthy relationship with my cosmetics and my skincare. It never ceases to amaze me what someone is willing to put their body through to be this concept of beauty or, you know, alluring. I still think one of the best adaptations we ever had is Death Becomes Her, and that's absolutely fucking perfect. But to have something that's more in the horror department from Ryan Murphy, I mean, say no more. I love a lot of Ryan Murphy's stuff, and I've talked extensively about many of his shows that he's done. I talked about Monster for Trailer Time, and oh boy, do I have thoughts about that series. And some of his stuff can be a little bit different. It can come off in a different way, and you never really know in Ryan Murphy's department who is actually helming a lot of stuff, because most of the times it'll say, you know, from Ryan Murphy or Ryan Murphy Productions, but it might be a different, varied source of one of the people that works with him, you know, that's not, you know, Brad Kalfchuk. Seeing what they've done so far, oh gosh, I feel like it's going to be the same realm of what The Substance was, which is another movie I have not seen yet, which is a crime I've definitely committed about saying that, but the same realm of, you know, what would you do to look beautiful forever? The addiction to look your best. is such an ongoing thing, and if it had to be like this product that you could have and look beautiful the rest of your life, unfortunately people would fall for it. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Ryan Murphy's series is going to do in more of that commentary, and I really hope they get to have fun with it. I would love to see these cosmetics and do like some kind of body horror stuff, like the idea of trusting in an item that will not harm you but make you look beautiful, and knowing that, oh, it's just gonna make me look pretty and nothing will possibly go wrong. It's like, wow, that's a lot of faith for a thing that you think is not going to harm you. Yeesh, man. I'm excited for it. Oh, it's like hitting my check marks for horror and my little subcategories and plots. I don't know who's been reading my dreams at night, but I gotta thank them for bringing this to life. Next one on my list, I didn't want to put him in the middle, but he had to be here anyway. It's the revival of Malcolm in the Middle. So, funny thing, I never grew up with this show. I knew of it, I caught clips of it, but my mother said it was always so stupid, and I mean, she's kind of right, but at the same time, it's a fun stupid. And this show has aged so remarkably, amazingly, and also, I mean, fucking shit, the breakout star of having Hal go into Heisenberg, and now he's like basically the Hausenberg of our millennial generation for how he has, you know, how Bryan Cranston has been a part of like our huge decade, the past 26 years. Ouch, that still hurts to say, but it's kind of beautiful. 26 years that Bryan Cranston has been both the most wholesome part of our childhood and the most dangerous part of our childhood. Now, the idea of Malcolm in the Middle coming back was a little on the fence, since most of the kids have like been retired, especially Dewey. He flat out said no bueno and wanted to quit after Malcolm in the Middle finished up in 2006. But there is so much that you could do with a revival, and this isn't something people were really asking for, but at the same time, it's like, I'm not going to say no to Malcolm in the Middle, and having one of the funniest, stupidest show that was brilliantly stupid in so many ways get to come back in a new age where you get to see how they age with the new changes and how they gone through COVID. Like, it's like with King of the Hill, and how King of the Hill got to be explored in its revival for the pandemic and other politics stuff. Now we get to see how Malcolm in the Middle has done all of that. But, you know, Malcolm has been praised as this child genius and what he's going to be doing in life, and I'm going to laugh my fucking ass off if they end up making any reference to Frankie Muniz being a legit race car driver and maybe doing stuff like, oh no, you can't drive, oh no, you can't do this. Oh, the way that we've learned so much about these actors and actresses later in their life, and seeing how that could absolutely be broken in the fourth wall. I look forward to all that shit when they make references to it. Getting to see the kids and getting to see Hal come back, and oh, they have to do a Breaking Bad reference. I mean, they already went through the trouble of making that special side ending where he wakes up and he's like, honey, I was a meth dealer. God, I hope they do that. They better do that. So my next to last one to talk about, I already mentioned, but why not? I'm going to talk about it anyway. King of the Hill. King of the Hill was a show that I caught glimpses of growing up, but I didn't appreciate it until I was much older and got to really digest all of the characters. But it was still good enough for me to watch as a kid, and I had no idea what they were talking about, but it was still enjoyable enough to have to go back and really visit it properly. Everyone was very impressed how the years to catch up with Hank Hill and the Hill family have just absolutely, you know, chef's kiss all around the board. Everything felt valid or appropriate to how we saw these characters and how they've continued, what happened to Bill, what happened to Boomhauer, Dale, oh, R.A.P., Johnny Hardwick, and of course Hank Hill himself. The story they set up for the 14th season just felt absolutely perfect to the characters and where they've been and what they want to do. Bobby, by far, is probably my favorite part of the revival, and how mature he's become after all the things that he's been taught as a young boy from Hank, and those lessons we knew was gonna stay with Bobby, and to see how those lessons stayed with him is very beautiful. It's how you really want to watch someone grow up. But at the very end of the last season, it was, a lot of shit was revealed, like Khan and Min are no longer together, which was not a shocker, but also kind of a welcomed new storyline to explore how some couples you thought that would be together forever are not together forever. And some things change in life with Boom Hour having a child and being active in that child's life. But also there's going to be some changes that have to happen, like John Redcorn. It has not been said yet if they are truly going to find some way to write off John Redcorn's character, and whatever they do, it's still going to be sad no matter how you look at it. There's no way to it not be sad, especially knowing the real life tragedy of Jonathan Joss. And if he could be here, he would absolutely be voicing John Redcorn till the end of his life. And thankfully there is no recasting for John Redcorn, which is good because there is only one John Redcorn. But things like that are going to have to be addressed. But they also have a lot of things on their plate because people have also been wondering, what about Luann and Lucky? Luann is one of the sweetest parts of the show. I mean, Brittany Murphy, I'm glad they did not recast her, but it gives a lot of holes in the story because you would wonder, Luann would absolutely be there because she loves her Uncle Hank, and oh my lord, she would absolutely be there, Lucky be there, but since both Brittany Murphy and Tom Petty have passed away, yeah, it makes sense why they wouldn't be there. But it would be nice to at least have an answer like they did with Michelle in Fuller House, that, oh, she's gone doing something. I hope they do that angle that, John Redcorn, Lucky, and Luann are just, gone doing something, and then, let the show ride out. I feel like that would be a better send-off than recasting. It's still going to be a sentiment that we're going to have to see through. But it does open up a whole slew of new ideas, because we did discuss the pandemic and how the Hills went through it. There's other various things that's going to be coming out in the future that we get Hank Hill's commentary on. I'm going to talk more about it when I actually get to talk about King of the Hill on the show in the future. But there's never not been a moment that I hadn't thought about, what would Hank Hill do if I was in a situation trying to figure something out. Hank Hill really did become the commentary and embodiment of kind of what it means to not just be an American, but to have a blue-collar soul and navigate through things, have your morality, have a family life, and know that not all answers are going to be the same answers. But, Hank Hill answers always had, like you're going to your father for an answer, is what it always felt like to me. He's like our really weird conservative father, but we love him anyway, There's so much potential, and they gave us so much in this 14th season to want more, and now, here we go. We get to see what season 15 looks like this year. And last is a pick that I opened up with. It's another Ryan Murphy series, Monster Season 4. So, I have to admit, I love the Monster series. I absolutely shouldn't, because it's just a rehashing of killers we should not be giving a whole lot more time and attention to because it glorifies them. But I feel like only Ryan Murphy would explore that angle in a very unique way. If it had to be, it's Ryan Murphy. But here's the thing, and I had to mention this to a lot of my friends that were crapping on the third season and couldn't understand why it was so different, is because it wasn't Ryan Murphy. It was Ryan Murphy Productions, but it was Ian Brennan. I don't know if I got his name right or wrong, but I'll put a little note in there just in case I messed up. He helmed the Ed Gein series, and our season 4 is about Lizzie Borden, so we're going back in time even further. If it's going to be a show about a female killer, probably would make sense to keep it open to have the series be directed and helmed by a woman. My thought, and I really hope this happens if they get Jennifer Lynch involved again, who did a handful of the episodes from the Dahmer series, and she's done some dark movies. I mean, Lord. Ryan Murphy said, could you do the Dahmer series? And she said, basically, hold my beer, and damn. That woman can depict some dark shit. So if you're going to be showing a dark story about one of the most, enigmatic killers that has a nursery rhyme made after her, I would hope it's a woman that gets to direct the series. It's still unclear what it's going to be like, but I do like some of the different angles that's going to be explored, because I happen to see a little name also pop up. Eileen Wuornos, played by Sarah Paulson. And I was like, okay, now I'm seeing where this is going, because I was a little bit taken back at first. We're going into a very old part of time, and if you have to explore this time, then how it moved forward, which is a lot of the angles that I saw within, the Ed Gein series, like how Ed Gein ended up influencing, like, Hollywood stuff. Well, Lizzie Borden is exactly an influence, but she is one of the pinpoints from before of how far back there was a woman known for the act of murder, and, just kind of made everyone clutch their pearls, and the savageness of the details and the crime. There might be more details we didn't know about in the Lizzie Borden series that gets to be explored, but just like with many biotopics, there has to be a grain of salt. And I think we've already had a merriment that, based on a true story, has quotation marks around it, and if there are things that can't be confirmed, then there does have to be some sort of fictionalized experimentation. When that route goes into a different type of representation, fictionalizing becomes almost sympathizing or modernizing or romanticizing, the act of crime, and that can go very different ways. And since this is going to be a totally different idea, and since this is going to be a different ballpark to go into, it's kind of to see what happens. But I also noticed this too, and I don't know if anyone else did. The Monster series is going back in time quite literally. Dahmer was a killer in the 90s, and then you got to go from, his early days in the 70s into the 90s, and then you go the Menendezes, who are, a crime that was right around the end of the 80s going in the 90s, and how that went on further. And then you go into Ed Gein straight in the 1940s, and it really showed a big time leap to the 70s and 90s for how Ed Gein unfortunately influenced a lot of our horror films. But then you get Lizzie Borden going way back in time. So through the season 5, how far back are we gonna go, guys? I don't know. I guess we'll have to find out at the very end of Lizzie Borden. But there's not much I've known about her story aside from the rhyme. There was a series that came out on Lifetime like 16 years ago with Christina Ricci, our absolute goddess of chaos. And if she could play Lizzie Borden again, she would. She already came back for the Wednesday series, and I love her in fucking Yellow Jackets, but that was probably the closest to what could have been a perfect depiction. So, time will tell to see what this depiction looks like. Oh man, okay, so I am absolutely exhausted, but this was so much fun, guys. I love getting to talk about a lot of new things coming up and getting to share like my first initial thoughts about it. But there's it's always a different time with trailer time when that comes through, so to get like a whole bunch in one go is it's been really good to get a whole bunch of different dry commentaries out of the way to, pave the way. And who knows, maybe for the year 2026, some of these things will end up, coming up on the show, and I get to reference this episode for what the predictions end up coming true to be. And Lord, I hope I'm right about at least some of these things. There's a lot of really good ideas on here and some titles and, a very long thing called The Odyssey, but other than that, we got a solid year that we're looking at for movies and TV, guys. I'm so excited. But if you want to catch up with me in between uploads, you can find me at the Queen of the Screen. And if you would also like to listen to your media host on another outlet, I'm also available on YouTube. I've heard it's a much easier experience to find me at. And I also like to advertise my little published series called Inglorious Inc., which is a whole bunch of chaos and movie references that I put together and had so much fun with it, like I have fun with the show. So if you want to check it out, you can find it in the description box. Alright, so I don't know when I'll be back, because right now I'm still in the process of moving, but I will be sure to put out a notification when I'll be getting close to putting the show back up on the air. But until then, this is your Screen Queen, signing off. Bye-bye!